Whether you're a committed golfer, entrepreneur, or high performer hungry for next level success, today's conversation is going to reshape the way you prepare, practice, and perform. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Scratch Golfer's Mindset podcast. I'm your host, Paul Salter, the golf hypnotherapist. I'm a mindset and performance coach who uses hypnosis to help high achievers just like you dismantle the destructive patterns of thinking, feeling, believing, and behaving that are keeping you stuck. Today's guest is a real treat. It's an absolute honor to introduce you to him. Today's guest is Derek Belch, a former Stanford Cardinal kicker turned entrepreneur, best known as the founder and CEO of STRIVR, a company that is pioneering virtual reality that builds immersive training for NFL teams, Fortune 500 companies, and the U.S. military. A multi-degree Stanford graduate with an MBA from USC, Derek left coaching at Stanford to launch STRIVR out of the university's virtual human interaction lab and has since been recognized on the Sports Business Journal's 40 under 40 list. Even more, he is one hell of a golfer. He's also the host of the Golfing CEO podcast, where he brings on incredible guests alongside his own vulnerability in his pursuit of becoming not only a scratch golfer, but earning a place at the US Open. Buckle up. Today is a fun ride. I know you're going to love it. So without further ado, let's dive in. Please help me in welcoming Derek to the show. Derek, I'm curious to know, which of these two situations would you rather find yourself in? 3 seconds left in the game, you're 51 yards out, a field goal to win the national championship in the college football playoff, or 18th hole, you've got an 8-foot putt left to win the Masters. Where would you rather be?
Oh God, that is not even close, Paul. It is option 2 all day long. Option 2.
Which one would you feel more pressure in?
Probably option 2. Probably at Augusta. Right? I mean, like, because kicking and golf are very similar, but they're both not reactionary positions sports. They're proactive sports, right? Like, you have to physically make your body move, right? Versus like if you're playing receiver or linebacker, if you're a center midfielder or hockey player, you're making decisions, on the run, right? With kicking and golf, like, you don't perform your craft unless you initiate that movement. And that's where we know the mental demons, can come in. So the nerves. And so I probably have a higher percentage chance of making that kick than making the 8-footer, but I'd rather be at Augusta. So, yeah.
Well said. And you bring up a great point. You're right. Golf, just like kicking, is unique in that we have all of the opportunity in the world to sit with and invite in that mental interference. You happen to have turned a whole passion into this company that helps individuals at the highest of levels learn how to thrive with decision-making under pressure. Walk us through some of the pitfalls and mistakes people experience making decisions in high stakes and high pressure situations.
That is a great question. And that could be an episode, entire episode in and of itself. I think first of all, like, very important to delineate between like hard skills and soft skills. Right. Mm-hmm. And while STRIVR, my company started in athletics and specifically NFL and college quarterbacks, almost 11 years ago to the day, we quietly pivoted out of sports, a couple years in when we got the phone call from Walmart, and anyone can go read about this online. And we did continue to keep our sports business for 3, 4, 5 years. But then we realized that like this opportunity with corporate America was just too big, relative to sports, and it needed to be our entire focus. Yeah. So, but I say that because I think your question is super interesting. In the end of the day, whether it's a hard skill or a soft skill, and the majority of what STRIVR does today is with hard skills. But in the end of the day, you're going to love this, given your background, past, present, and future, and the theme of this show. It comes down to preparation. And how much have you prepared for that moment, right? Back to your question that you asked me about, where would I rather be, in what pressure environment? If I've put in the work, and I've either simulated that moment as much as possible, as realistically as possible, or I've been in that moment, right? Maybe not that moment relative to the consequences and the outcome, but that situation, right? Right hash, 51 yards, screaming fans. Doesn't matter what game it's in, right? 8-footer, downhill, left to right. Doesn't matter where it is, right? So if I've been in that moment enough and I've put in the work to prepare myself for that moment, then it's kind of in God's hands after that, right? Yeah. Similarly, if I'm a factory worker at BMW, if I'm an employee at Walmart, if I'm a bank teller at Bank of America, if I'm an executive and I have to give a presentation, or I have to, fire somebody, or talk to Wall Street analysts, whatever it is, how often have I been in that situation? So when I'm actually, or felt like I've been there. So then when I'm in it in real life, my brain, consciously or subconsciously, has been there before, right? And at the core of what STRIVR has been doing for 10 years, that is what we've been doing, right? Simulation-based learning, simulation-based preparation. So when you get into the real world, whether it's, again, a difficult conversation, whether it's plugging something in, whether it's putting something, a part together on an assembly line, whether it's like an active shooter training, whether it's throwing a football, like, have I been here before? And therefore, am I more prepared to make the decision subconsciously or consciously?
Incredibly well said. I often come back to, my audience knows this, I'm a diehard Redskins fan. So last year, one of the biggest talks around Jaden Daniels, who had a breakout rookie year, was all of the VR and AI training he was doing and just, reacting to coverages at lightning speed in his off time while he's resting, hanging out, chilling. So he's more prepared in real time, like you're alluding to. Talk us through and help the listeners best understand what is the transferability of sitting in a relaxed position and going through these simulated high intensity situations to when they need to be able to respond in real time.
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. So first of all, let me just take a step back and go on a slight detour before I get there. So, I've been doing this for a long time, 11 years at STRIVR, almost 11 years at STRIVR, 25 years if you go back to my undergraduate days at Stanford and some of the research, that I did in the VR lab when I was a sophomore and beyond. VR has been around for a long time, long time. Decades, if you want to talk about flight simulators and other things that the military has done, right? Yeah. But we're now in the cheaper, lighter, faster era of VR. And what used to weigh 40 pounds and cost 40 grand and have to be tethered from a ceiling or have this massive room set up now costs, $400 and weighs less than 4 pounds. And I can literally take it anywhere I go. So because of that, there is, and because of your question, which I will get to in a second, there, and because of the innate, easy to connect dot of preparation breeds performance in sports, right? Everyone thinks that VR either is the holy grail of sports training, which it is, or is already happening in mass because it's like so logical, right? Here's the reality. In the year 2025, it's actually not happening in mass. Okay. It is the holy grail of sports training. I'm going to get to that here. I'm getting there. It's not happening in mass for a couple reasons. One, football, where it's happening more, still not at every team in the NFL and college for a lot of different reasons, but where it's happening more than other sports. Football is very unique because everybody starts in a static position. I love how you opened this interview and you gave me that, that choice, right? And I happen to be with kicking field goals or a putt, but football is actually the least like movement fluid oriented sport than all the other sports because every position, unless you're motioning, right, which that happens, but even before they motion, like they kind of stop for a second. Yeah. Everyone has to make a decision before they move. And then they let their athletic ability take over. Yeah, a quarterback sits in the pocket and maybe he dances around or maybe Jaden Daniels rolls out because he's more athletic than most QBs. But think about it, right? Like for the most part, these guys know what they're going to do before they move. Or the quarterback knows where he's going with the ball before the ball's even snapped. And that is 90% of the battle. Okay, where am I going with this? Soccer, hockey, basketball, tennis, all of these sports, you make decisions on the move. Okay? VR is not yet a good fit for movement-oriented sports. First of all, teams don't have the size and room to have, warehouse-like, simulations, right? Yeah. Second of all, if you're going to do that and build a VR simulation in a gym, why not just go out on the field anyway, right? But just do it in the real world, okay? Third, unless the simulation is perfect, and I'm getting to your question now, unless the simulation is perfect, you will get nauseous with a movement-oriented simulation. Okay, it's all about the human brain and the equilibrium, right? Like think about it. If I'm sitting right now and I put on a VR headset and that experience is like on a roller coaster, my body's sitting, or I'm shooting zombies, or I'm a soccer player. Like my body is stationary, sitting or standing, but in the simulation, I'm moving. Your brain says, whoa, this is not adding up, right? So in order to create the perfect VR simulation, you have to move how the simulation wants you to move. Yeah. Okay, so here's where I'm going with this. Jaden Daniels and some, and obviously how STRIVR started 10 years ago, and certain positions in football, like quarterbacks. Jaden Daniels does not move pre-snap, other than maybe rocking forward and rocking back, right? Yeah. So the greats, the Tom Brady's, the Drew Breeses, the Peyton Mannings. We happened to work with two of those names, early on, Tom and Drew, in our journey. So I got to pick their brain and see this firsthand. They know where they are going with the ball 90% of the time before the ball is snapped. So that is the value for Jayden Daniels, right? When you're a rookie and you're trying to adjust the speed of the game and you're trying, you know the difference between cover 2 and cover 3 and man. But like, have you done it in that high stakes of an environment, with that level of, the speed of the game, right? Like the decision. And so really for Jayden and others like him, it's not about like the whole play. And he doesn't throw a ball. We never built a VR simulation to throw a ball. Mm-hmm. He is getting the first fraction of a second post, obviously all this stuff pre-snap and then post-snap. And he is being trained to make decisions faster. That is the value for Jayden Daniels and others. And unfortunately, today in 2025, it's going to change with technology and Moore's Law and everything. But that is not, you don't see those simulations for soccer players, hockey, basketball. If you do, they're just honestly, Paul, they're just not very good. They're okay. bad video games. And the players say, this isn't working for me. Right. Or the opposite, like, okay, this is a cheap video game simulation. I have 0.3 of a second to make a decision. The simulation is giving me 1.3 seconds. This might make me worse. Right. Like that's just kind of the reality of it. So long-winded answer, but hopefully that helps kind of just paint a picture here.
Incredibly informative. So now let's funnel it through the lens of golf. And, we'll tie in, obviously my background is biased, very rich in hypnosis and visualization. And these are my words, not yours, like VR seems to be like a visualization hypnosis session on steroids in some capacity there because of the repetitiveness and the rapidity of the decision-making and the number of repetitions. Talk us through how could this be applicable and beneficial for a golfer, whether with real VR technology or just continuing to leverage the power of mental repetitions?
Yeah, two-part answer. First, I've used the line that you just used maybe 1,000 times over the last 10 years. VR is visualization on steroids. So if you ever want to be a member of our sales team, come on over. You're ready to go just with that line. Second, you may be disappointed in this answer. VR as it exists today, conceptually great fit for golf, visualization, etc. In reality, not a great fit for high performance golf training. If you want to play a game and have fun, and there are some actually really amazing VR golf games out there that are pretty damn close to the physics. If you want to do that, knock yourself out. But that is not real golf. It's not. So if someone wants to, listen, there definitely are things you could do. Like you could put on a headset and see a putt go in again and again and again. Maybe you're visualizing the shot shape on, you're standing on the third tee at Augusta and all right, what am I going to do here? But the level of like the time and energy and money required to go build those simulations, honestly, not worth it relative to closing your eyes and doing the work that you would, or working with someone like you, right? Like that, that's honestly just as good or better than VR visualization for golf right now. So,
yeah. And that does make sense. And I agree though, like, the applicability, I could see where it gets clunky there specifically for golf here. Now I'm curious, two things that stood out from earlier of a conversation that I loved, coming back to this pressure. And you mentioned in your kind of talk about Augusta, there's these consequences or these perceived consequences and expectations. When you think about pressure and you think about the individual's perception of the outcome, are there consequences? How am I viewed? What am I losing? What am I gaining? If you're working with a high-performing individual, an athlete, an entrepreneur, how do you help them reframe pressure more as an opportunity rather than a consequence?
Well, that is a multi-million-dollar question there. So whoever can figure that out, the Ozempic of pressure, not feeling pressure. I don't know. Maybe there's I guess there are drugs out there that could do this. Then they're illegal. So first of all, pressure is a privilege. Okay. Billie Jean King. I mean, that I've used that quote so many times with our company, my own kids. They're only, 10, 7, and 4, so they don't really get it yet. But pressure is a privilege. I firmly believe that. Here's what's so unique about sports, right? Like in the corporate world and in my day-to-day life, your day-to-day life, we're under a lot of pressure. to put food on the table for our families, to in my case, we've raised almost $100 million, to come through on investor expectations, right? To deliver to our customers what we sold them. So we're under a tremendous amount of pressure day to day. What makes sports so unique is what you just got to, is the outcome is immediate, right? Now, and the best players, the best managers, the best coaches, the best GMs and presidents, they take the long view over a season or a hiring cycle. And hey, if you lose a game, it's not the end of the world. You got one next week. And guess what? The goal is everyone's goal is to win the Super Bowl, but first and foremost, you got to get to the playoffs. And if you go 12-5, you're making, if you go 9-8 some years, you're making the playoffs, right? So like that big picture is super important, but it's relative to, the arc of a season, or like someone not getting down in a game. I want to get to golf in a minute, because this is really relevant for me and others that, us amateurs or folks trying to, make it to the PGA Tour. But sports, like, whether it's that example you gave with the game-winning field goal, the putt, whether it's someone trying to make a cut, whether it's someone trying to, audition for playing time, the outcome matters, and the outcome is instantaneous, right? So I don't really have any like magic bullet here or words of wisdom, other than here's a couple things I've been told over the years. So my college strength coach, who came in Jim Harbaugh's first year, my last year at Stanford, he's one of my good friends to this day. And I lived in the Bay Area for, 10 years after, while starting this company before moving back to San Diego. And I would see him in the weight room every day in my post playing days, because I would still work out there. And, I talked to him about my golf stuff, and, and obviously, and then back to kicking. When I was there, he said, "Hey man, like, getting nervous just means you care." Yeah. So getting butterflies, having shaky legs. Freaking Rory McIlroy said his legs were shaking on the playoff hole, that they had to sleep on, him and JJ Spawn at the Players this year, right? So when Tiger has said he gets nervous, so when the best people in their field say they get nervous, why should we like feel bad about getting nervous, right? Like make it. My son says, I'm nervous about the game. Good. That means you care. Embrace it. Okay. So that's number one. Second one was recent. I had this, we'll get here, but I had this massive breakthrough in my putting, earlier this year. And a lot of that was physical, but also I was playing with this guy at the club I play at, and he's a really, really good player. And he went through some similar stuff with his putting. And I was explaining, some of my issues to him. And he's like, "Hey, you know what helped me?" I said, "What's that?" He goes, "I finally realized that when I'm standing over a 4-footer, whether I make it or miss it, it doesn't matter. Like it literally doesn't matter in the grand scheme of life, And I know that's really hard when it does matter relative to the outcome of the game, or the, the season, or maybe you're gonna, if you're trying to feed your family with making a cut or something. I get that, but like, if you look at the entire body of work of your life or a season, like, it really doesn't matter. And so my short answer is, you have to figure out how to train your brain, and therefore your body, to, hey, this is just another 4-footer, 2 balls outside left. I've done this literally 1,000 times.
Agreed. Like, what you speak to in my verbiage is healthy detachment. And for me, it always comes down to the difference between being versus doing. And in this case, you just want to be the best version of you, unattached to the outcome. We both know easier said than done. But if you're stuck in this doing, going, you become obsessed with tying your self-worth into the outcome. And if you're continuously stuck in that mindset, your body's tense, your body's tight, and that is not the recipe to hit the smooth, fluid stroke you need to sink that 4-foot putt more often than not.
And I think this is really important, Paul, too. Like, this doesn't mean you don't care. Yeah. Like, you can care to kingdom come. And I really struggle with professional athletes that say, like, my identity is not, that I'm a pro. So, BS. Yes, it is. This is what you do every day of your life. Like, you put your whole life into this. Like, at least now in this moment of your life, this is who you are. And that doesn't mean you can't have other interests, and like, you're not going to use your platform. I love that. But like, in this, like right now, I'm a CEO of a tech company. Like, that is part of my identity. I don't run away from that, right? I'm also a dad, a husband, many things. So this idea, it doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean that you have to not care. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't find a way to embrace what it means, right? Like the outcome. But it is, honestly, it's the fundamental difference between guys and gals, athletes and executives that make it and don't make it. Because here's the reality. People have told me this to my face with my podcast, which I'm sure we'll get to later. I've played with a couple PGA Tour players, staying with the golf theme. I'm not saying this arrogantly. Like I'm not a plus 10 like them. I'm not a professional golfer. I hit the ball just as well as them 80% of the time. Like to the naked eye, you wouldn't know the difference on 80% of our shots, right? But they are so much more consistent than me, right? And then when you get to the higher levels of golf, there are players right now on the Korn Ferry Tour that are just as good or better ball strikers than guys in the top 10 in the world. What is the difference? Executing when it matters. That's the difference. and what's upstairs, right? Like, that's the difference.
Yeah. So I remember having a conversation when Mark Immelman joined me. He'd walk up and down the driving range before a tour event, and you just see these guys smashing the ball, every shot perfect, stripe down the middle. You don't know their name because when it matters most, they're not able to execute. They might hit the ball better than Scotty, than Rory, but again, you don't know their name because when the pressure or perceived pressure is on, or when they need to tap into their potential most, it doesn't happen. It doesn't show up.
Yeah, I think Scotty and Rory they're the outliers. They are just that much better. But go to world ranking 5, 6, 12, 24. Like they're not that different than 1,024, right? And then also this is kind of fun, and maybe this helps transition to some other stuff where you wanted to go. I mean, I'm 40 now. I just turned 40 this summer. I play in San Diego City Am every year. I play in the US Am qualifier, the US Open qualifier, the SCGA stuff. I'm trying to do more, now that I've launched this podcast. I play in the Monday pre-quals whenever I can. I love playing with college kids and or former college kids or former pros or current pros. And I love beating them or even just beating them for a couple holes or a couple shots. And you can literally see, the look on their face when you outdrive them, or you get up and down when they don't, or like when you shoot even and they're 2 over. I mean, like it is that like, wait a minute, this guy shouldn't be beating me. Like I have a leg up, kind of like the Brooks Koepka thing. I mean, obviously not on this level, but Brooks Koepka is very famous for saying like, hey, I'm like, there's only 20 guys in any given major that can win. Right. And like half the field's out before the tournament even starts because they don't think they can win. Yeah. So like that, but that's real, man. Like playing in some of these events, and I'm literally paired with a college kid, and how old are you? Like, what do you do? I'm 40. I run a tech company. I play golf once a week. If I'm lucky, boom, I just outdrove them by 20 yards. Like they're done. They're done. Like, and that is mentally, and that is cool. It's fun. It's gratifying.
Yeah, absolutely. I love hearing that. And so 2 parts. We're going to come back to golf full-fledged here shortly, but if you take a big step back, it's obvious you've accomplished a lot. You've been, guns a-blazing in your entrepreneurial career, launching this business. You had a successful college career. You're a successful golfer with big aspirations. When you hear the word balance, what comes up for you? Does it exist? Is it a thing?
Well, maybe standing on a balance board is it exists. I don't. Oh man, this is a tough one because this is a common term right now in the world. Mental health, work-life balance, blah, blah. I don't believe balance is truly possible. Like peanut buttering yourself across, lots of different things in your life or your business, or if you want to be really freaking good at something, you can't be doing everything. Yeah. It's just not possible. Now, you do have to figure out who you are and what is important to you. And
so good.
And be unwavering on those things relative to what else you're trying to accomplish. So I will just use myself as an example. Mm-hmm. Here are the non-negotiables in my life. Getting at least 7 hours of sleep every night. On average, yes, there's times where you're going to have a delayed flight, or you're going to have to stay up late doing something, or we just had to take one of our kids to the ER in the middle of the night. Like, it happens. Okay. But on average, getting 7 or more hours of sleep a night, because sleep is like one of the most, if not the most important things you can do for your physical and mental health. Okay. Like, to survive. Exercise, non-negotiable for me. Very rarely am I completely sedentary in a day. Non-negotiable. And then I don't really like the word present, being an active and engaged husband and father. Now, so those are not everything else. And then throw, faith in there probably, and, probably before all those, to be honest, like, cause that's the ultimate foundation, depending on what you believe in. So those are the 4 non-negotiables for me, and everything else takes a back seat to those things. Now, here's the tricky part, Paul. Okay, if you are trying to develop a skill, or you're trying to achieve something, like Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours rule is pretty accurate. And the thing that people don't realize, who haven't read that book about the prodigies, it's not that they were so good at a young age, Tiger Woods, Bill Gates, Rory, it's that they started before everybody else. Yeah. So they got their 10,000 hours by age 15, whereas other kids started at age 15, right? Like, or 25, or whatever their chosen career was. So with that in mind, if I'm starting a company and I'm trying to, get my product out there and grow the business and raise money, whatever it is, like, I'm going to have to put the work in, and I'm going to have to figure out how to balance that with those other 4 things I just mentioned. And that might mean that I'm not as good at those things certain times, right? Certain moments. That might mean that instead of a 1-hour workout a day, it's 40 minutes, and I go pick up that 20 minutes. That might mean that I sit down with my wife. Quick story of year 1 at STRIVR. That I sit down with my wife on July 23rd, 2015, when we're about to go on a training camp install period for our product. Uh-huh. She's 7.5 months pregnant, and that baby's due mid-September. And she says, "How long do you need to be gone for?" And I say, "Probably 6 weeks, because I need to go to this team and this team and this team and this team and this team. But this is our window. And if we miss this window, we're not going to get these teams till next year." And I have a great life partner. And she said, "Do what you need to do. I'll call you if the baby is on the way." I'm exaggerating a little bit, right? But there are those moments where you're going to get out of balance, but then you always have to come back to those principles, the values, right? And so I that's not a perfect answer, but like, I don't, Paul, as a CEO of a tech company, I can look you in the eye and say, I've been doing this for 11 years. I've never put in 100 hours. I've never done an 80 to 100 hour week. I've never done, as far as like butt in chair, fingers on keyboard. Yep. But unfortunately, my brain and my commitment and accountability to the business, how many non-sleeping hours are there in a week? That's how many hours they're on. Okay. Like, that's just is. So in that, and when you learn as a CEO, like, you have to learn how to delegate and mission vision stuff versus, me doing the work. So in that sense, like, I have zero balance because I'm always on, and there is a level of stress that comes with that, but I'm also able to come back to those 4 things as a result of just being aware of it. So.
Phenomenal answer. And, I've talked about this topic, frankly, on the podcast quite a bit personally and with other incredible guests like yourself. And I love how you led with, you've got to get clear on who you are, where you're going, what you want. And that's what I try to educate on, is you got to know who the fuck you are. Where are you going? Because that allows you to honestly communicate with a potential life partner. You've got an incredible wife and life partner who you can be honest about, like, hey, babe, you're 7.5 months pregnant, but this is the mission vision. This is what I need to do. And it allows teamwork, camaraderie, and the support to go do it. And now you're both winning and thriving as a result of effective, honest communication. And I think coming back to whether we call them core values, non-negotiables, or these pillars of success, you've got to protect them at all costs. Sure, some days it looks a little different, but in the grand scheme, they're protected because they're what drive and move the needle forward over the long term.
Yeah. And this is a lesser example relative to the consequences of life and the outcomes for sure. But 2 years ago with my golf game and with stuff that was going on at the company, we went into the fall, this was in 2023, and we needed to raise money or we weren't going to make it. I mean, we could spend all day on the startup journey and nothing is as it appears on the surface, despite all of our, success, perceived or actual. Not only do I need to very likely have a heads down quarter in Q4, right? Like before the holidays to make sure that we can raise money and before people disappear for a couple of weeks. But I'm also in year 2 of this swing transformation journey and things are starting to come together. But I'm very clearly not over the hump in some areas, particularly with short game. So I told, not only did I tell the company, I told everyone, hey, I just want you all to know, like, you guys know, I play golf once a week. It's part of what keeps me sane. I'm very open about it. You can look on my calendar. Our board knows, like they encourage it. But we got some shit we need to get through this fall. Pardon the, you did the F-bomb earlier, so I guess I can say that.
Fuck is always welcome.
So here's my commitment to all of you. I'm not playing golf for the next 3 months. Right. Or if I do, like, it better be so down the totem pole of things that I can accomplish, after my to-do list I've checked off relative to what we need to do to survive here. Doesn't mean I'm not going to touch a golf club, but like those 4 to 6 hours are just, I'm not going to have them, and I'm committing to you guys. Okay. But also very open with the company and my own personal goal during this time. But here's what I am going to do, everybody. I am going to practice because it helps my sanity. Okay.
Yeah.
And I knew that I needed to get over the hump on, set aside the mental stuff, on some physical issues in my short game. Mm-hmm. And I went to my instructor and said, hey, I feel like I'm not doing this right. Can we go back to like stance, grip, width from the ball, et cetera? And he gave me 3 or 4 things that I did need to clean up. I'd built some bad habits. And Paul, guess what I did for 3 straight months? 2 days a week. I dropped my kids off at school at 8:30. I went to the golf course by 8:40. All I did was chipped and pitched for 90 minutes. And I came home and I put my butt in the chair and did what I needed to do for work. Right. Like that was all I did for 3 months. And not only did I get over the hump on the physical issues that I could then take to the golf course, but more importantly, when it came time to play again, more importantly, I raised the floor. Right. And I share that story since this is about, golf in addition to performance, because now that's a really small thing, but relative to balance, it wasn't going to be possible for me to fix those issues, while also having balance with playing 18 holes 1 or 2 days a week, school, kids stuff, husband stuff, work stuff. It wasn't going to be possible for like 3 months. So I needed to pick a path.
Yes.
And I got the results. So
I love that story for many reasons, but 2 things stand out. 1, you gave yourself permission to be flexible. And there's a term that comes to mind from Brad Stulberg. He's a really great author, someone I look up to, called rugged flexibility. The goal didn't change, but the demands for this particular season of life absolutely did. You could have said, fuck it, I'll pick up a club again in 90 days. Or you could have said, hey, I'm going to stop playing 18 holes a week, but I am going to practice and fill in that time. It's going to look different. I might practice Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday, but it still gets done. Coming back to the non-negotiables, the minimum effective dose, if you will. And I'm hopeful you saw the results of your hard work.
I did. Good. I still see them to this day. And also when I get off, I'm not as off as I think, or I'm off from a higher level of performance than I was before.
So something you said earlier too stood out to me. I've never worked an 80, 90, 100-hour week. I love that for you. I've been there. I've been guilty of the 75, 80-hour weeks before, not running a startup. So I'm curious, in all of your experience as a founder, any coaching and networking and the high-performing individuals you connect with, what separates the founders and the business owners who are able to scale and grow year after year from those who inevitably burn out and hit that plateau?
Well, first of all, from a scale growth success of the business perspective, if you don't have product market fit, you're not going to make it. So that has nothing to do with the founder, their mental space, the number of hours they're putting in. I mean, go read Mark Andreessen's manifesto on product market fit from Andreessen Horowitz fame. It couldn't be any more accurate. Like, if the market doesn't want what you have to a certain level of velocity, it doesn't matter how many hours you put in. It doesn't matter how committed you are. It doesn't matter how great of a leader you are. It doesn't matter whether you have the best team or the worst team. You will not. You may have like a really nice lifestyle business, but you will not achieve these hyper growth ambitions. Yeah. Bar none. Okay. Now let's assume you do have product market fit. Comes back to what I just said. The difference between the people that make it and don't make it are do you know who you are? What are your values? What are your priorities? Can you thrive under stress? Okay. Can you also let me actually edit something. I was thinking about this when you said this. For the record, I've totally worked 70, 80, 100-hour weeks because there's times when I've been on the road for a week at a time, and technically I'm working. When I worked when I was a football coach for 2 years, I mean, we're in there 7 days a week for the season, and that's an 80, 90-hour week. But here's the thing, Paul. This is the thing that just drives me freaking bonkers, okay? There's a massive difference between working, fingers on keyboard, lifting, running, stretching, hitting balls, giving presentations, in Excel, in meetings. Massive difference between working and being in the office. Massive difference, right? Like, I can't tell you how many people I have come across that brag. I love, this is a quote from Steve Spurrier, the former successful college football coach. It's the coaching graveyard is full of people that were grinders and that said they worked for 100 hours a week. Because, like, Paul, I've been in these environments. I've friends that have worked on Wall Street. I've worked as a football coach. I've sold into football teams. I'm running a tech startup. Very, very few people that say they're working 100-hour weeks are actually working. There's a lot of sitting around. There's a lot of waiting for something to do, right? It's desk guarding. So my boss sees me here. Like, come on, people that listen to me, just be honest with yourselves. Now, that doesn't mean like being in the office versus being at home on your couch for 12 hours a day is easy. I'm not saying, or being on the road away from your family, like that is work, right? I totally get that. So with that in mind, I guess I have worked many 100-hour weeks. But again, big difference between like sitting in a hotel bed with your feet up and, unwinding or sleeping or versus like actually sitting in the meeting room. Okay. Mm-hmm. But now to round out the answer, the people, I just had the pleasure of interviewing Joe Moglia for my podcast just last week. The people that don't make it are the people that don't know who they are, and the people that cannot stay calm under stress and cannot continue to operate effectively under stress and don't lose their mind and start lashing out in high stress environments. Because like inevitably, if you're going to succeed at anything, first of all, if you're going to succeed at anything, you're going to fail. There will be failure along the way. Nothing is ever up and to the right, ever. Okay. So if you're going to succeed at anything, you're going to fail along the way. And, or if you're going to succeed and achieve up and to the right growth in your profession, there are going to be chaotic, high stress moments, either in success or in failure. And the people that can't deal with that are the people that don't make it. I actually don't think we burn out because of number of hours. I think we burn out because we can't handle the number of hours, or we didn't stay true to who we were during those number of hours. Right? Like,
so my initial, as I'm hearing you, I keep coming back to like the underlying theme is self-care, which I think you would agree with to some extent, but also your last sentence, it's like you're creating an incongruency about who you say you are, but then you're not behaving in a way. So then you're emotionally fragile. You can't handle physically, emotionally, mentally what it takes to survive that chaotic period. And that's where the crumbling, the downfall begins. Fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not tooting my own horn here, but like we've been through some crazy stuff in the last 10 years. And certainly we're going through some really unprecedented. I always say, Paul, I thought I had seen it all, and every day something new comes up, right? We're dealing with some interesting stuff now. And, I've had an executive coach for 8 years, and, I've a lot of friends I keep posted along the journey here. And, I consistently get a lot of compliments that like, I stay even keeled in stressful situations better than anyone they know. And I don't know, it's something that I've worked on a lot. It's partly God-given and something I've worked on a lot, but I can honestly look you in the eye and say, through all of the last decade at STRIVR and, having 3 kids along the way and dealing with, the challenges of little, you have a 1-year-old, little things like getting 4 hours of sleep because you were changing diapers in the middle of the night, to their health issues, to now my kids are getting older and emotional things. And then the startup, I've been through a lot. And I can look you in the eye and say, like, have I been perfect? No. But John Wooden, the softest pillow is a clear conscience, right? Like I go to bed every night. I fall asleep within 5 minutes, partly because I'm tired, partly because I have a clear conscience. Like I've stayed true to who I am, and I've been very consistent in how we've treated people. I haven't lashed out, personally or professionally. And I'm in a good place despite all the crap, right? I'm consistently in a good place, and I try to stay as even keeled as possible. And I do believe that, that term you just used, self-care, and kind of the 4 things that I do that are important to me. I think that's a big reason for it. Do I want to play golf every Sunday morning for myself or to see my friends or parents? Absolutely. My wife is pretty cool about most things. She gives me a lot of rope. Not going to church on Sunday morning is a non-starter. But guess what? It's probably a pretty big driver for a lot of the things I just shared, right? Like, because those 2 hours every Sunday as a family and my own self-reflection and hearing the sermon, they add up in ways that I don't even realize, So
yeah, and they have that compounding interest effect as well.
Yeah.
There are so many directions I want to take this conversation, so we're going to have to do it again. But of course, I want to shift to some more golf. And you've developed a collection of intangible and tangible skills that have allowed you to become a founder and taken your business to where it is. If you look at the entrepreneurial and leadership skills you've developed the past decade plus, which of those has helped you most as you're now pursuing this journey to scratch beyond and to become the best fucking golfer you possibly can?
Okay. We could spend all day on. So we have a common friend in Michael Leonard, who his whole business is built around the mental part of the game and the strategy and the approach versus the physical part. But Michael and I do agree, and every mental coach does agree on one thing. Like if you don't have the baseline physical side, at least down to a certain level, your ceiling's only going to be so high, right? Okay. So we could spend all day on physical things and things that I've done to clean up my game technically over the last couple of years. But here is the simplest answer, Paul, and I'm so glad that you asked this question. The word is perspective. The word is perspective. And first, let me tell you about business, and then I'll tell you about golf. I can't tell you how many times I do it once a quarter for the last 8 years. I share with my company the statistics of startup success, more specifically, the statistics of startup failure. Right? Here's a couple. 90% of startups fail. 75% of venture-backed companies fail. You raise money. Congratulations. And venture means like probably a lot of money, at least a few million, maybe more. Congratulations. You still have a 3 out of 4 chance of going under. Okay. I think that stats like, 1% of all businesses ever make it to more than $1 million of revenue, right? I mean, so like when you actually look at these numbers, we are in the 0.001% of companies that have ever made it as far as we have made it. So that's not to say that we take our foot off our gas, that we celebrate if we have a down year or like, oh, it's okay. But at the same time, like you got to put things in perspective, and you have to. That's how I continue to motivate the workforce. Like, guys, we've done so much. And by the way, if we want to get there to the mountain, like this is what we're up against, right? So I'm constantly sharing that perspective. Okay, let's bring this to golf. First and foremost, for all of your listeners and myself, perspective. Okay. Shooting even par is not the benchmark for being scratch. Being a 0.0 index is relative to the course rating. And if you shoot 75 from the 7,100 yard tees at Torrey Pines South, you are a scratch player in that particular round. That is a 0.0. Okay, so every golf course has a rating from 68 point whatever to 80 from the tips at TPC Sawgrass or Whistling Straits. The rating is on average what a scratch golfer would shoot. Okay, usually the higher the rating, the longer the course, since distance is usually correlated to score. And even the most scratch of scratch, other than professionals, don't hit the ball 300 yards. They hit the ball 240 to 260. Okay, off the tee. The slope is how many hazards come into play for the average bogey golfer. I'm giving you back of envelope math here. So therefore, if you shoot 76 from 6,200 yards, course rating of 71.3, slope of 134, you're a 5 point something on that given day, right? If you shoot 77 from the tips at La Costa North in my backyard that just got redesigned by Gil Hands from 7,500 yards, you are a minus. You're better than scratch, right? So the perspective thing is super important here. Like I listen to other podcasts. You're probably familiar with some of them. I talk to people. I see it with my parents and my friends. There's this obsession over even par. And like that means scratch. It doesn't mean scratch. It could, depending on the rating and slope, right? But it doesn't mean scratch. Okay. Next thing on perspective, right? There's also then home course scratch and traveling scratch. And playing your home course, and I've listened to some of your interviews with folks, and like even some of the best, most accomplished players you've talked to, they've said, I could do it all day on my home course and I wasn't doing it elsewhere. Okay, so then there's that.
Yeah.
Then there's tournament golf and casual golf. And I think it was Sandy Tatum, maybe someone else, that said weekend golf is like walking on a balance beam or on a tightrope on the ground. Tournament golf is going up 10 feet and championship golf is getting rid of the net, right? Like that is the difference. Tournament golf is literally a different sport. It is a different sport. Okay. So now you asked me about myself. I already shared the perspective word with the company. And now with my golf game, and partly I've learned this, partly I've had people drill this into me that are very good players, from my instructor to friends to others. Hey, Derek, golf is really hard. Really, really hard. One of the hardest games out there. Hardest things to do, period, or be consistent at. Okay. Tournament golf is a different sport. You play golf maybe once a week. You practice maybe once a month. Expectations matter. You never played collegiately. You never played in high school. You are self-made. So when you go out and shoot a 74 in a tournament, that is really freaking good. And if you want to be better than 74, you either have to just get lucky in that given round, putts falling, bad, bounces off trees, or you need to put the time in relative to the people that shoot better, right? So like that now that, again, that doesn't mean I have to be happy with missing a 12 footer or like, oh, I shot 74 today. Amazing. Right? Like, no, right. But it does mean you got to have perspective, right? And obviously I went to the extreme with tournaments, but like just even for casual golfers, people trying to get to scratch, like, man, I'm still shooting 77. When's my even par round coming? Well, if you're shooting 77 on harder golf courses, you're scratch, right? Mm-hmm. Now, for myself and better players and actual scratch players, I played a course last week. I played the whites with my dad for fun, 6,000 yards, 71.2, slope of 128. I shot 73. That's not what a scratch golfer would shoot. Okay. Why did I shoot 73? Because I had a quadruple bogey, right? So like then you start to, okay, why did I do that? Was it a fluke? Was it like was it something that I'm just not good at? Was it a movement pattern? So anyway, again, sorry for the long answer on some of these, but that word perspective is the shortest way I can answer the question.
I love it. It's so concise. It encapsulates expectation management, which we know you, me, and Michael Leonard, especially, shout out to Mike, good friend of mine, talks about at length. Expectation management is everything. And we come back down to the opening question, that 8-foot putt, the best of the best are making it 49% of the time. And we're getting pissed off because we missed one. Like it's stupid. It wastes energy and it pulls us out of the present moment.
I can't tell you how many times my mother has just expressed disdain, and to the point where on the 5th hole of missing a 20-footer, to the point where like it ruins her entire round and her mental makeup. And I'm like, Mom, PGA Tour average from the putt you just missed, best in the world, is like 16%. So why did this ruin your whole day? Couldn't agree more, Paul.
Because Mom's a high performer. I love it. She's committed.
Well, but there's also a difference between being a high performer and being delusional, right? And
your words, not mine. Let's be clear.
And not having the right expectations, right? So anyway.
Yeah. No, really well said. And we're going to do this again, but I want to get you out of here on this question. You have an opportunity to write a message on a billboard. This billboard is placed in the middle of a golf course, visible from all 18 tee boxes, really just to drive home the point. Everybody on the course can see it. And it's an opportunity to leave one simple message, Derek. What are you writing on that billboard?
Play fast. Well, you said it's a golf course, right? You didn't say it's on the freeway. If it's on the freeway, it's that I want the whole world to see. It's the word dignity. Act with dignity. Treat others with dignity. Be dignified. I mean, listen. This isn't going to be a political discussion, but the state of our country is just so sad on both sides. I'm down the middle. I'm pretty moderate. Both sides. I mean, we've lost dignity in this country. So that would be that'd be my billboard for the world. But play fast actually is, it's actually, Paul, it's bigger than just the speed of the round. It's actually back to this word perspective. Like there's something about golf that makes people just like think they're the only people on planet Earth. I mean, I quick story. I'll go as fast as I can. Last year, I'm at my nephew's 7-year-old birthday party. It's at a miniature golf course. Miniature golf. Oh. There are 3 groups of kids that are, 4 to 6 of them in each group, going hole by hole. And there's a group of adults, 20s to 40s, like 10 of them on a hole doing their thing. And they're all terrible, for the record. You can tell they just don't play golf. Paul, like, I'm not kidding. They are lining up their putts. They're moving their balls to get out of the way for people. Like, they're making the kids wait. But think about this now in real day-to-day golf, right? Two people on a cart. Why does the cart go to one ball? The driver waits for someone to hit. Then they get in the cart and go to the next ball. Drop them off and go to the next ball, right? Like, why is the person waiting to shoot their yardage with their gun until the person puts the flag back in? Just shoot the yardage to the guy standing next to the hole. Get your glove on, get your club, get ready to go, right? Like, so play fast is like, you know what? I'm going to change it, Paul. Be less selfish. How's that? Right? Like the world doesn't revolve around you on a golf course. Think about the other 50 groups out there. There we go.
Incredible. Shout out to the companies that are implementing everybody gets their own cart. I think that's a cool idea.
That's interesting.
I've not played on a course that does that, but it is very interesting, right?
I actually hate riding. I only ride when I have to. If the course is one of those spread out over miles, we can all walk faster actually than we can cart path only. I mean, just come on, just freaking walk, get exercise,
just walk,
right? But yeah, like in the end of the day, just unless it's for a safety reason, go to your ball. Go ahead of somebody if you have to. Stay out of the way. Be ready to play, right? And so here we go. Don't be selfish. Play fast. There's my billboard. Mic drop. I'm done.
Boom. I love it.
Yeah.
Derek, absolutely incredible conversation. Where can our listeners go to learn more about you, STRIVR, and to check out your podcast?
Yeah. So our company website is strivr.com, STRIVR. We've actually launched a new product recently that we're putting, this is going to be more the future of the company. It's workwise.strivr.com. So there you go. There's 2 websites. And then I'm not a social media guy, so there's nothing to follow out there. But the podcast that I launched earlier this summer that you referenced is called The Golfing CEO. And it is all about my delusional quests to sell my company for $1 gajillion one day and buck the odds and then also qualify for an actual PGA Tour event before I turn 50. So there you go. Check it out.
Love it. Thank you, dude. Really enjoyed this.
This was fun, Paul. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Absolutely. And for those of you listening, thank you for tuning into another episode. Again, so many relevant examples, powerful nuggets of wisdom and insight that Derek shared. Go back and listen twice. Take notes. Perhaps equally important, go share it with a friend, a fellow entrepreneur or golfer who needs to hear the messages, the learning lessons that Derek has been kind enough to share. And if you haven't done so already, it takes 30 seconds to leave a genuine rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to today's conversation. Thank you again for listening. Have a great rest of your week. Hit them straight this weekend, and we'll catch you in the next episode.